what you said to me. I get you on your knees. Rewrite all the things you said that I should be. I'll get you, now you beg me please. Hey.
Well, hello, everybody. Hey, Gma, good to see you. Let me know if you can hear me in the chat because my microphone is kind of wacky today. Sorry about that. If I sound weird, just let me know and then we'll get on this. Awesome. All right. Now, yes, Karen Reed. It's been a while since I have covered the Karen Reed case because, of course, there's so many great creators out there who are covering it. But I do feel like every once in a while when I cover it, it's a little more in depth on specifics. And this one in particular, this Hank Brennan, who is the lead or quote deputy prosecutor for the Karen Reed potential retrial, because I don't think it's going to happen, but it could. It very well could. Hi, Ryan. Good to see you. It shouldn't, in my opinion, but that's just me. So, Hank Brennan, how did he come on board? Where did he come from? I think a lot of people know just the roundabout that he was the defense attorney for Whitey Bulger, who was a part of the mafia, right? And if you want to go look up that story, please do. It's wild, absolutely insane. So why would he join the lovely, friendly, never would harm an outsider of their little Norfolk County district attorney? Why would they invite him in? What's going on with that? Today's National Boyfriend Day? Nice. So I have a few ideas. Let me pull up just what he said. One second. All right. So Hank Brennan, or excuse me, Morrissey, when he pulls Hank Brennan in and it goes public, here is what he said. Let's pause that. All right. So again, Brennan is a prominent private defense attorney, most known for defending notorious mobster Whitey Bulger at his criminal trial. Morrissey announced on September 18th that he had appointed Brennan as a special prosecutor against Karen Reed. Yet, just so everybody knows, the prosecution team that tried her the first time and failed, they will still be prosecuting her and helping with trial. It's just that if you think about it, the responsibility, the liability of what is going to happen in her trial kind of falls on him. And I'm going to show you exactly why I say that. Because at the end of the day, if you are under, let's say, a federal investigation for misconduct, for prosecutorial misconduct, right? Everybody could be liable for what actions they took and what they did involving the or maybe not Karen Reed trial, but any trial where you do some fuck shit. Okay, hide evidence, not introduce exculpatory evidence, right? However, when you lead a prosecution or a case, the weight is more heavy on you, especially if you're signing off on these things. Like, for instance, Leland or Morrissey, things of that nature. Hey, Chris, Julia, good to see you guys. All right, so let's scroll down here and just see what somebody said about Sir Brennan. Attorney Brennan is a highly respected and skilled former prosecutor and longtime defense attorney with over 25 years of experience in state and federal courts and has expertise handling complex law enforcement matters. Complex law enforcement matters. The ads on these damn y'all got plenty of money. Stop it. You don't need these ads bothering me. Hi, Mr. Eve. Hi, Margaret. So, why would he have complex law enforcement? Why would he have experience in state and federal courts with handling complex law enforcement matters? Well, first of all, it's a very complex situation whenever you're dealing with a mobster, right? Just in general. But he was in and out of that federal court for appeals on that case. I mean, it's you got to go look it for yourself. There's a lot to read if you feel like it. But I wonder what specifically he has in relation to Karen Reed's case. Think about that. Because obviously there's corruption of some kind, right? Especially against Justice for John O'Keefe. So how would that help Karen Reed's case and or the prosecution? So here is what he quote. Hi, Lenny. Good to see you. This is what really caught my eye because I read a lot of case law from Massachusetts specifically because, first of all, I'm from Texas and it's very different in comparison to Massachusetts law. But that's what you got to do to understand why things happen. There's always a reason, not just because it was everything is premeditated, right? And if it's not premeditated, it's very obvious that it was a last minute ditch effort. Give me just 1 second and let me grab my other headset because this one is not connecting. So you're not going to hear the audio. Give me just a quick second. Okay, I should be good now. Perfect. Here we go. All right. So when Hank Brennan said, quote, I assume full responsibility and all obligations for prosecuting this case and will do so meticulously, ethically, zealously, without compromise. Like, he's saying it like the one that wrote that originally was from 1864 with the wig and everything. It was very, and maybe that's just how Hank speaks, but I've seen how he speaks in court in other instances and it doesn't really match. So this is very intricate wording. Well, it's a quote. He's actually quoting something, and we're going to get into what that is, and you'll see that those little things like this are hints. Even if they didn't do it on purpose, it's hinting to something. So let's continue. I have two core obligations. Ethical. Think ethical here. The first is to make certain that Karen Reed receives a fair trial. Miss Reed will receive the dignity and fairness that every defendant deserves in our criminal justice system. The second is to ensure that facts surrounding John O'Keefe's death are fully and fairly aired in the courtroom without outside influence. Ah, that's very specific. That's a very specific statement. Well, was that happening outside of this, perhaps? Was outside influence happening within? Of course it was. Of course it was. And you want to know how we all know this? It's because the federal investigation into the investigation of John O'Keefe, Ted Daniels outed that, and Turtle Boy. They outed the fact that they're under investigation because of what they've done. and the Massachusetts State police officers who worked under the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, who was helping, in my opinion, frame Karen Reed and or help not uh, have fingers pointed at the McAlberts, who are the third-party culprits. Again, Brian Higgins, those three specifically, Brian Higgins, Colin Albert, and Brian Albert. All right. So this was very interesting to read that, and I did find some of this in a ethical, let's just say an ethical outlining guidelines for lawyers. All right. So my eyes kind of went, oh, you were placed in this position, in my opinion, or picked maybe by an entity perhaps, or within Norfolk County because of something pressing. Well, what's pressing the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office? I'm sure they're fed up. I'm sure they are fed up with it. Wink, wink. With all of this nonsense. So, yeah, outside influence, right? Margaret, and I would agree that feds, only outside influence would be the McAlberts, in my opinion, when he says that. But that's just me. Maybe I'm biased. I don't know. So let's look and see what Reed's attorney said. The news that Morrissey has decided to use taxpayer dollars to hire this lawyer to prosecute the case speaks volumes about his confidence in his own team. They can bring anyone they want to court. We will beat this unjust prosecution just like we did last time. Like we've said to you, Sir Morrissey, do your worst. We'll see you in court. Right. Okay. Yeehaw. We ain't got no quit. So let's look at legal experts who are bamboozled by this information. Legal experts say that the move to appoint this special prosecutor makes sense with the increased scrutiny on the DA's office and the MSP, which investigated Officer John O'Keefe's death. This is the right move, but it's also a very smart move, says Jennifer Roman, who I could not trust as far as I could throw her because she's been wrong numerous times, but let's just take her word for it. The prosecution needs a fresh pair of eyes. I'm sure they do. Number 2, they need to distance themselves from all of the trauma that they've created that's going on internally with other Norfolk County investigators. They needed to pursue this investigation and this trial with the utmost of integrity. Yeah, they needed to, and they didn't. And that's why Hank Brennan is here. So we all know about Trooper Proctor with the leaky balloon knot and the text messages and all the horrible things he's done. Not to mention his baby mama, too. We see you, girl. So we all know about what happened in the first trial. There's a mistrial. There's an appeal to Beverly's decision, the judge, to deny dropping the 2 charges that the jurors came to defense and said, and the prosecution, some of them rather, and said, we were unanimous on not guilty on the charge 1 and 3. Okay. And that appeal will be heard in November of 2024. I cannot wait. It's an oral argument, so we get to see it, I believe. I think it's going to be, I watch the oral arguments for the Supreme Court all the time. And, you know, a big thing that I hear constantly is jury instruction errors, the judge putting her nose in an opinion in when they don't need to, which sometimes will revert a case that should have never been reverted. It's really insane how this happens. And our judicial system is, in my opinion, I do believe for the most part, it's as good as it's going to get. However, there are very big flaws with judge and what is it called? Prosecutorial, not misconduct, but they get to decide on certain things because it's so open. The law is so open to interpretation that they can make these very important decisions just because they feel a certain way, and I don't like it. So now we know that very recently, I think today, maybe yesterday, a lot of people were wondering, how is Hank Brennan getting paid? Like, how much are we paying this fool to erroneously prosecute Karen Reed? And, well, they got the news answered that question. So it says when Karen Reed goes on trial for the second time, Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan will be the lead attorney on the case. Blah, blah, blah. Private defense attorney, mobster attorney. Yeah. So Brennan will be paid up to $75,000. Up to. Hey, Julia, everyone said Lally couldn't even catch his own drool. And now they have hired Brennan there. It's all, I know, but there's a reason. Hang tight. Hang tight. There's a reason, in my opinion. So the wording, up to 75,000. Why is there a cap? That sounds like a rule, doesn't it? You could only be paid up to $75,000 for his services at a rate of $250 per hour. Sounds like there is a cap for a reason. Maybe there's something in the law that says special prosecutors only have special privileges, and maybe they don't otherwise. So why would a defense attorney who has made millions in his career only getting $75,000 for his services when he could just not and move on with his merry day? Why is he choosing Karen Reed's case? Oh, he said, I feel like it's my civil duty. Well, I call duty on that. I think that you were asked, not by Morrissey, maybe an outside agency who is looking at the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office in a sideways manner, right? Maybe, just my guess. Oh, and here we go. It kind of breaks it down even more. He is being compensated. He is being compensated under a maximum obligation contract, which expires June of 2025. So I wonder if that's a year contract. We'll look at the contract here if I can pull it up. If his fees exceed that amount or the case goes on past June 30th, a new contract will be written per the agreement. According to the publicly available data, the Norfolk DA's office spent under $9 million in salaries for the department in fiscal year 2022. Wow. 9 mil. Most of it probably being Karen Reed related work. Wild. All right. So let's look at this little bad boy. Hank Brennan contract. Now we got to read the fine print because sometimes the fine print tells you everything you need to know, but you miss it because it's so tiny, teeny, tiny. Duty booty for sure. This form is jointly issued and published by the Office of the Comptroller, the Executive Office for Administration and Finance, and the Operational Services Division. I know those well because I'm an accountant and looked this up, and governmental accounting, I hated that class so much. I hated it at the time. Now I should probably go back and get into it. But anywho, so this form as default contract for all Commonwealth departments when another form is not prescribed by regulation or policy. The Commonwealth deems void any changes made or on by attachment, blah, 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 to the term in published form or to the standard contract form instructions. Additional non-conflicting items may be added to the attachment. Contractors are required to access published forms at this place. Forms are also posted here. Okay, that seems normal so far. Contractor legal name, Brennan and Associates, Commonwealth Department in Norfolk County, District Attorney's Office. Blah, blah, blah. You know, the good stuff, all the normal things that you would see on a contract. New contract. Let's see. Procurement or exception type. Check. One option only. Department procurement includes all grants. 815 CMR2. Solicitation notice. Or RFR, a response or other procurement supporting documentation. What is that? I want to know. What does that mean? Includes all grants. 815 CMR2, I think, dot something. It's really, really messed up. Scanned. Okay. So what is that? 815 CMR2. Look, other people have been looking it up. It's hilarious. All right. State grants, federal grants, and federal subgrants and subsidies, aka how are they getting paid? How is Home Dude getting paid and by what, under what grant or subsidy? All right. I want to know. I want to know for the people of Canton because they might not know. And maybe you need to know. So let's see, what was it? Let's check it out, as my little one says. Let's check it out. Oh, there's a lot. There's a lot to it. Is that 2.001 solicitation notice? I don't know. We'll find it. Okay, the grants must comply. That non-discretionary earmark grant funds, discretionary grant funds, which are either state or federal, can be you can FOIA that information and see exactly where it came from on the back end, I believe. So that's interesting because you have a right to know. You do. Let's go back up. Exceptions. Right row. Sorry, I have to go to 2.0. We're getting there. We're getting there. Here we go. One moment. Almost there. And okay. 815 CMR2. The state accounting system, known as MMARS, which is horrible. I do not wish this kind of software on anyone. My God. For the love of Christ, if you try to audit it, you will want to drink yourself into oblivion. Oh, and you asked, sorry, I know I'm ADHDing, but RFR is, I think, federal regulations, if I am not mistaken. So it could be a subsidy. It could be a subsidy agreement. Department procurement. Basically, aka, we needed help with something. We needed to procure Hank Brennan, but specifically due to there's a notice that has to be given on why. There has to be a reason why it's under that specific procurement or exception. All right. Hey, Chris. I'm still listening, just finishing up work. Awesome. She does work too much. So, compensation. The department certifies that payment for these performances accepted in accordance with this contract, blah, blah, blah. In the state accounting system, subject to the owed debts under this, whatever. Maximum obligation. Enter the total maximum obligation for total duration of time of this contract. 75 grand. And we're going to get to how they came up with that number. Okay. So let's look into the fine print because I'm blind. I got to Gotta scroll up in there. There we go. It says statutory, legal, or ready payments. When it says prompt payment discounts, PPD, that means, hey, if you pay on this day or earlier, we'll give you a 2% discount on the total amount that you owe. That kind of thing. Or we'll give you an incentive, those kind of things. So it says agree to standard 45-day cycle of payment, statutory, legal, or ready payments, MGLC 29238. I'm going to look that up in a minute. Blah, blah, blah. Special Assistant District Attorney Services with the NDAO rates $250 per hour. Please see the attachment A to this contract specifying invoice instructions. So anticipated start date, September 10th. A date prior to the effective date below. Yada, yada, yada. We're going to pay this full blah, blah, blah. Contract end date, June 30th of 2025. I'm assuming that's when they are assuming trial is going to end. I don't think it's ever even going to happen. Retrial is what I meant. I don't think it's going to happen. But hey, we'll see. So certifications, good standing in with the bar. No complaints or any outstanding craziness. You aren't on trial for murder somewhere else. That kind of stuff. That boring stuff. Oh, and Julia T. RFR is not anything to do with federal. It's a request for response. Request for response. I didn't know that. Now we do. So, it does say here, provided that additional negotiated terms will take precedence over the relevant terms in the request for a response and the contractor's response only if made using the process outlined in 801 CMR 2107. Let's see what that is. What's that? Oh no. Curious. 21.07. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's boring legal jargon that we don't need. Maybe it's everything. Maybe it's just regulatory stuff that we could. Yeah, it's just gobbledygook. All right. Let's move down. His title, by the way, if anybody wants to know, is Special ADA now. Special ADA Hank Brennan on the Karen Reed retrial. Or so he says. Who signed off on this? Margaret Krippendorf. Who the hell is Margaret Krippendorf? I know that it says First Assistant District Attorney, but I've never heard of that name. I maybe have seen it a few times, but who the hell is Margaret Gryffindor? Sorry. Krippendorf. I'm just curious. Let's see how much she gets paid. Annual rate of $132,000. All right. I think there's like a few Canton police officers that get paid more than that. You sound like a Harry Potter character. Yes, I was going for that. Dang. She gets paid less as first DA of Norfolk County. That sucks. Let's see how much she makes in 2024. That was 2018. Oops, she got a $7,000, almost $8,000 pay bump since 2018. Anywho. Just curious. I didn't know who she was. All right, let's keep on going. I am not going to read all of this, obviously. But I am going to read something very specific that I found down here at the bottom. Where's that exhibit? All right, here we go. Deborah Lee. Oh, really? Deborah. Okay, Contractor invoice and customer code, blah, blah, blah. Executive Order 481 applies to all state agencies in the executive branch. Blah, blah, blah. Contractor certification. Special ADA Hank Brennan on the case. Is that really it? I must have missed it then. Hold on. One second. Oh, maybe it's under the Executive Order 481, but we'll get to that. So, all right. Remember that he can only get paid up to $75,000 on this case, right? $250 an hour. Huh. Why? Well, I'll tell you. Let me pull it up and I'll show you, rather. And I have been sleuthing the hell out of this for a few days now. Now, there are Supreme Judicial Court rules. There's also Board of Overseers, I think it is, for New York and maybe even Massachusetts. There's all of these different ethical codes and laws and regulations within the state. And there are federal ones too. Which one do you think has more precedence over prosecutions being bad boys and corrupting cases, criminal cases? Okay. So when there's a federal investigation going on in your office, I'm pretty sure federal is going to take precedence over how you are reprimanded for that if it's criminal. What do you mean by criminal activity while prosecuting a case? Racketeering, bribery, public corruption charges. There's a list of them. And I'll show you who in the federal government specifically deals with those things. Margaret says, Eve, I am rubbish balancing my checkbook, but wonder if any of those grants funds needed to be allocated before end fiscal year. Yeah, I think, what was it, yesterday? That the government, when was it? Yeah, the 1st, excuse me. I believe that's the government end of the fiscal year is September 30th. So I see what you're saying. Mm-hmm. And since his start date was June, he's been working with Norfolk County DA for a little bit, since June, right? Or was his effective date? No, his effective date was this month, sorry. But I'm pretty sure he has been. So, getting back on track, Supreme Judicial Court rules say, here's what you should do and shouldn't do based on amendments that we've made to the rules from previous, whoever wrote them previously, right? And again, there's also federal rules. All of these entities that kind of say, don't do this. And obviously there's going to be some that take the cake over others because of the entity that it is, federal, whatever. And sometimes it doesn't, but most of the time the federal law is, it's it. So there's also rules of disciplinary authorities. Well, guess who the disciplinary authority would be? In this case, if you're being investigated by the feds. The feds. I'll just tell you. So let's download this bad boy and open it. And let's see what they say. Lenny, yes, federal fiscal year end October 1st. New budget coming. I'm sure that $75,000 is not going to hurt the government enough to where they shut down. You know what I mean? I don't think it's even a question. But I'm pretty sure they had to get some kind of sign off on it one way or the other. Especially federal grant, like you always do. I think it depends on the amount. From what I remember correctly, it's been a while. So look, all right. So we have the Supreme Judicial Court with the amendments up to September 1st. So this is like really recent and the most accurate that we can get on this specific code of judicial conduct. Okay. And these guys are supposed to hold judges who have been bad or have behaved badly accountable, right? They don't always come out and say what the ruling is either in that uh, judicial conduct get together meetings that they do. They don't always have to tell you what they decide on a judge ruling of judge misconduct, but that's okay. Somebody will find out. Now, if they do have like a criminal charge or a civil charge that they have to bring on someone, they have to, or it'll become public information. But if they don't have to say anything about what happened, which is stupid to me. All right. So specifically, I'm going to go into what was it? We don't care about reporting because that's easy. You just tell somebody, whoever they say to tell, you go and tell them why you're reporting the professional misconduct. Here we go. Just jump straight to it, please. And it didn't. Authorities. Disciplinary authority choice of law. And this is Massachusetts law specifically. So a lawyer admitted to practice in this jurisdiction is subject to the authority of that jurisdiction, meaning if they fuck up in Norfolk County, that's where they're going to be scrutinized in. However, there's an exception. A lawyer not admitted into the blah, blah, blah. This, you don't need to know that. Choice of law and any exercise of the disciplinary authority of that jurisdiction, the rules of professional conduct to be applied. However, for the conduct in connection with a matter, this is important. I had to read all this crap just to get to this little bitty blob that tells me, okay, the feds can step in specifically because of conduct that falls into federal criminal charges. All right. For conduct in connection with a matter pending before a governmental tribunal, the feds, the rules of the jurisdiction in which that tribunal sits, unless the ruling of the tribunal provide otherwise. So meaning the feds can step in on that. And I'll tell you which entity it is. For any other conduct, the rules of jurisdiction where the lawyer resides, his work, should be applied. Unless the feds need to do that. Okay. So Hank Brennan is going to be taking over that kind of liability on behalf of or in behalf of Norfolk County and Morrissey. All right. That's why Hank's there. Hank is there to make sure that no more misconduct is going to happen, to protect them from more liability. Because again, they are under federal investigation. You cannot have a federal investigation without the federal agents going to, or whoever it is, maybe it's the prosecutor who got all of the information or the tip. And in this case, maybe it was Yannetti told the feds that private investigator told him somebody got beat up in that house. It was John O'Keefe, and who did it, blah, blah, blah. What is his name? Scallon? That private investigator, right? That was like, he got beat up. And then how that all transpired. So that goes to a federal prosecutor, and they look at it and say, is this deemed worthy enough to eventually charge somebody with? Because we're not going to waste all of our resources, if it's not, there's not enough probable cause to even look into it. And sometimes they even go to the AOG. Most times they do, to see, what do you guys think? And I'm talking about the attorneys. right? The prosecutors, the ones that are looking at it like, is this worth the taxpayer's dollar? Scan, yeah, that guy. I'm not even going to try to say it. So, okay. We know for a fact that the feds don't just jump into an investigation with nothing just to seize these. Just look, there has to be enough probable cause to tackle that. So if there was enough probable cause to go to federal prosecutors and the AOG and say, should we investigate? And they are, bet your ass there is a criminal charge or charges of some kind being looked at to pursue. They're not going to keep going unless they're pursuing it. Okay. And sometimes it doesn't get pursued because of a hang up in the law. But that doesn't mean that they aren't thinking of it. They are. That's the only way. So, of course, they're going to bring someone like Hank Brennan in to take the liability off of their backs going forward because they already fucked up. Norfolk County has already dug their hole. But they have to stop doing it somehow because they can't sit on their hands and behave and try to set up Karen Reed and frame her. They need Hank to come in and cover for them. But I don't think that Norfolk County or Morrissey asked for Hank. I don't, and I'll show you why. Disciplinary authority. Very important. Who's going to discipline when you have been a bad apple or a bad group of apples prosecuting a woman who is innocent until proven guilty, right? Well, it depends. Jurisdiction. It does say in here that there is no completely satisfactory solution to the choice of law in question, but the jurisdiction is the jurisdiction. It's either where they're at, where they practice out of, in their state, in their county, or feds, period. And from my understanding, I believe he practices out of Massachusetts and New Hampshire. So I don't know if that has something to do with it. Could just be nothing. So disciplinary rules applicable to practice as a prosecutor or as a defense lawyer. Code of Judicial Conduct. Disciplinary rules. There's a preamble here. I could care less about reading that right now. There is a scope. I don't want to read that. It's a lot. But they break it down in terminology of a close personal friend. Court personnel. What happens to court personnel when this happens? Domestic partner. It just, yeah. There's a lot of, I guess, corruption that can go on in a court with court staff, I guess. I don't know. So, all right. Bar admission and disciplinary matters. We don't really have to go over that one, to be honest. There's the rules. You can go look for yourself. But here's the big one that I wanted to show you guys. This is the federal one. And my system's getting bogged down, so I'm not going to pull the whole thing up. But I have this little one specifically. Basically, it's the federal guidelines for nationally. Everybody and their mama who is an attorney. These apply to everyone. These rules. And this is kind of what happens when you misbehave. Specifically in a subsection of those rules. Public corruption is a problem in the federal investigation. Hey, Matt, good to see you, love. The problem is that they're so complex that they have to make specific laws to try to prevent white-collar crimes and public corruption. And I'll show you the agency that was created because of this. All right. These factors may warrant departmental supervision. Oh, you're telling me that public corruption may warrant departmental supervision and review of a particular case. This is like the whole reason for this live, guys. Was this little bleep in the federal what to do and what not to do and how to prosecute if they do bad things PDF file that I got. So Okay, who is that? So who may warrant departmental supervision and review of a particular case? Who would that be? Well, the Department of Justice within the FBI has a thing called the PIN department, Public Integrity Section. This is so fun for me. I know this is boring for most of you. All 9 of you in the chat, thank you for being here. But this is fascinating. So, the U.S. Department of Justice has a criminal division called the Public Integrity Section, also known as PIN. And what do? They oversee the investigation and prosecution of all the federal crimes affecting government integrity, including bribery of public officials, election crimes, and other related offenses. They also investigate and prosecute some of the most sensitive, complex, and continuous public corruption cases handled by the department. That's interesting. Okay. So what else do they do? They also serve as a source of advice and expertise. Ooh. They consult with other entities and local law enforcement, maybe, or whoever it may be, state officials. Regarding the handling of public corruption cases nationwide, played a key role in developing department policy concerning public corruption and election crime investigations. Even like Trump. Trump was accused of and charged with corruption crimes, if you think about it. It's 9, but one of us is 35 people. That right? I love my bipolar crazy people out there with multiple personalities. I agree with that, Matt. So, PIN handles cases in districts across the country, either on its own or in partnership with the U.S. Attorney's Office. Hey, Josh Levy and your friends, right? The one that's investigating Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, and probably Beverly Cannoni, the judge. So, okay. What kind of cases would be kind of similar to Karen Reed's in recent times that this public integrity section of the FBI, let's just look. Former Ohio prosecutor, sorry, I got trigger happy on that. Former Ohio prosecutor and former criminal defendant charged with bribery conspiracy. Uh-oh. So, yeah. Ohio is state, but they prosecuted both the defendant and the prosecutor with a bribery conspiracy. When I read that out loud, I was like, huh? What you mean? Are you telling me that the prosecutor and the defendant before the criminal defendant, they both conspired to get off? What? Why don't you just not charge the guy, girl? So I was like my eyes were crossing. And if you want to go read it to save some time, you can. But basically, these 2 dudes got into a scheme with the prosecutor to help homeboy out with the pending charges he had to do some auto repair work. He needed to get that something calibrated back there. You know what I mean? Or I think it was tires. Oh my God. So I guess you could bribe prosecutors with some car work, man. I think Matthew in the chat would love that, actually. Let me help you out. Because he has to always work on his car. Or his son's car. So that's illegal. Okay, you can't do that. So let's look at another example. Oh, former assistant district attorney indicted on bribery, money laundering, and conspiracy and other felony charges September 18th, 2024. Oh, oh no. And this was in Louisiana. Louisiana be tripping down there or over there. They are so corrupt. Um, Ironically, the one that runs this PIN public integrity section is from Louisiana. So they be getting busted all the time because he probably grew up knowing all of this stuff. So this guy named Gary from Lafayette conspired with Dusty Guidry. That's so Louisiana. Oh my God. And other Leonard Francois and others to solicit bribes and kickbacks and to accept things of value while Haynes was an ADA. And here's the thing. Haynes oversaw the DA office's pretrial intervention program. So he was a part of that section, like Morrissey with his 16 different damn sections of his office to prevent and kind of stifle things from being seen, right? Well, this PTI program was an alternative to criminal prosecution for certain criminal defenders. And I know for a fact that Morrissey's office has something like this, and they definitely use it to their advantage for their homeboys who are in politics. Absolutely. So, there you go. They also discussed several ways to conceal the nature of the money that they would receive in kickback schemes. I'll buy you a gift or I'll give you some money if you do all of these bad things. Yeah. So yeah, this little section of the FBI, you know, when Josh Levy is saying, we will catch you, we will find you, and we will charge you, definitely will. Because they're working with other departments within their own to catch you. All right. There's annual reports that kind of go into detail, which go look at the 2022 if you are a ride or die Karen Reed is innocent person. Go look at these reports and what all they have done since the 70s. Okay. Nixon is kind of, I think, the reason for this whole section too, like why it started. Yeah, Marley's car. Yes, Lenny, thank you. So you could just go up here and read all about what they do. They might be coming for you if you are in Massachusetts and specifically Norfolk County and are doing some dumb shit on the Karen Reed case. They might be helping put you in the chokey, the Fed pin. Get it? The Fed pin today. So, getting back to the case supervision and general assistance. So, again, this is a little blib of the federal ethics for attorneys nationally, right? And this is what could happen if you are bad baby. So, on occasion, section attorneys are called upon to conduct a careful review of a sensitive public corruption case. I would think that the Karen Reed case is sensitive. It makes people very sensitive, very butthurt, very not demure. Okay. To evaluate the quality of the investigative work and the adequacy of any proposed indictments. Based on its experience in this area, the section can often identify tactical or evidentiary problems early on, which they knew they were being corrupt, and either provide needed assistance or, if this is the big whammy, if necessary, assume operational responsibility for the prosecution. Do you think that maybe Hank Brennan is assuming operational responsibility as Deputy ADA or First ADA, whatever he said he was? Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan. Is he assuming operational responsibility because somebody's telling them to? So it says the section has also that this section also has considerable expertise in the supervision of the use of undercover operations in serious corruption cases. This section serves on the FBI's Criminal Undercover Operations Review Committee. A number of this section's senior prosecutors have experienced in the practice and legal problems involved in such operations and have the expertise to employ this sensitive investigative technique effectively and to advise law enforcement personnel on its use. Do you get what it's tried to sell you? Are you buying it? Sometimes these people have to go in and get the information as to maybe why there's corruption. Well, how did it get there, rather? How did this begin? How did this really go? How did the linear path of where it began and why it's still continuing, right? I'm not saying Hank Brennan, they said, hey, we need you to become an informant for us. Go in there, look and see what all you got. Did they shred some papers? I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I do think that the case supervision, aka the prosecutors who have seen public corruption for themselves, who are on this committee, may have looked into the Whitey Bulger case or knew about it and was like, I know somebody that may be able to help this situation. And I think that that's a potential reason that he specifically is there, because I'll tell you, the section, now I don't know who all is on this FBI Criminal Undercover Operations Review Committee. Maybe I can look it up. But I am positive one who made like a comment in a briefing or something on another case is from the same town he has his practice. So in New Hampshire. So maybe I'm just saying, like, it could be his friend. I don't know. So we'll see. Let me go back to my other page here. I'm going to look up what I was going to say I was going to do. Chief. There's that chief PIN. Corey Amundsen from Louisiana. Where did it go? Okay, sorry. Criminal Undercover Operations Review Committee. That is a mouthful. Jesus. I'll do it later. So, could they, meaning the FBI, whoever is the lead investigator on, or investigators, looking into the witnesses of Norfolk County's investigation into John O'Keefe, right? Which would be Brian Albert, Brian Higgins, right? Jen McCabe, perhaps. Anyone who lied on a federal grand jury, perhaps, right? Why would Hank Brennan go in there? Can publicly say, I am going to make sure that Karen Reed is going to have a fair trial, and I'm going to be zealous about it, very mindful, very demure, and that outside influences will not be a part of her retrial. It's because the moment he sees that there's a problem during the trial, or as he's being given information, he has to ethically and legally report that information. Do you think that if there, and he will, Hank Brennan will absolutely find some doo-doo that went down, just like Alan Jackson, Yannetti, and everybody else did, he has to report it. they're not going to retry her. No way. If they find more information, because this is actually somebody who, yes, works within that um as a contractor, right? We saw the contract. He still has to report that. He still has to report any fuck shit that he sees. And he's going to report it to an authority that has to report it to the feds or just go straight to the feds. Because in Massachusetts, they have a law, a federal law. There is a law that kind of tries to protect or prevent white collar crimes and public corruption. And I can't remember the name of it. But it kind of backs what the feds are saying in that ethical little blip that I showed you. They will make the decision. The feds will make the decision on what's going to happen to you, even if there wasn't a federal investigation. So, yeah, Morrissey, you better shred them documents. You better hide your kids and your wife, because if Hank Brennan finds what he's gonna find, and it's really bad, you're over. It's finito. It's toast. And I have a feeling that this is a tactic. I mean, they literally said it in this little blip. They assume operational responsibility for the prosecution. This section, Criminal Undercover Operations Review Committee, people setting your ass up, will send somebody under there to see what's going on. It's a sensitive investigative technique effectively and to advise law enforcement personnel on its use because public corruption are so complex. That's not good. And this is like a special thing. Like, this doesn't happen often. It is lately. But Morrissey, my God, what did you do? Like, I know that you were corrupt, right? First of all, he went public with his Colin Abbott was not inside the house at 34th Avenue, right? He is innocent. Made all of these inappropriate remarks, ethical violations, and it depends on what else happened, could be part of the evidence for a bigger charge federally. We're about to see something huge happen in Massachusetts in front of our eyes with these public corruption cases, specifically Karen Reed's. This is going to change history. I really hope everyone sees that. It's not just some case. This is historical. This case is unlike any other. And here's the thing, it could be you, it could be anyone in Karen Reed's shoes. When you let officials get away with things for too long in this mob-like mentality. And so you're about to see some history go down in front of your face. So, recap. I think that Hank Brennan was handpicked by someone outside of in Norfolk County to, one, deflect liability from anything going forward on the retrial of Karen Reed's case and any motions, anything that's coming into the to the courts, right, to protect that interest. But also, I think that he is also there to expose anything that he does find that shouldn't have happened, that are unethical and violations of being a prosecutor. Period. That's what I think. I don't think Hank is besties with Morrissey scheming and plotting behind the scenes. I do not think that. And the reason for that $75,000 cap is because that is a rule. I forgot to mention that real quick. He could only make $75,000 maximum. That's because special prosecutors can only make a certain amount based on the pay of, I believe, the chief prosecutor of the office or jurisdiction. So let me pull that up real fast. I know exactly which law it is. General law. I'll show you. Special prosecutors. Here we go. Boom. Okay. Special district attorneys, appointment, blah, blah, blah. Salary. Participation in federal demonstration programs. So this is section 20C of this law. The district attorneys may each appoint and may remove at pleasure such additional attorneys at law as special assistant DAs as may be necessary to participate in federally funded demonstration programs under the Omnibus Crime Control and Safety Streets Act of 1968. That was the federal case from the 70s, 1968, law that I was trying to remember, and I was way off. Yeah, so that program is kind of what sets the standard for grants and federal funds. Provided that the compensation of such special assistant DA shall be paid from federal funds. Such special ADAs shall have all the powers of assistant district attorney, and shall receive such a salary not exceeding that provided in section 16 for assistant DAs in their respective districts as the DA may determine. It's a federal fund. And that's why there's conditions for that. Yeah, buddy. And there's it's very overwhelming to read all of these documents and try to find, okay, but what exactly, where are the funds coming from? And really, you're just going to have to get it from FOIAing financial documents, which takes time because we just got into the new year, fiscal year. We're not going to know. But I have a feeling that it's under this Crime Prevention Act, which is very interesting. So anywho, that's all I've got. Maybe, just maybe, Hank Brennan will prevent a retrial. We're sitting here thinking he's going to make it worse for her. Maybe he's making it better or to disappear entirely. We'll see. That's just my opinion. I don't think Hank Brennan is the evil mob anti-Karen Reed. I think that he is literally coming in to do the right thing, and whatever happens, happens. It just might benefit Karen. Okay. Because there's a lot of fuck shit going on, and has been, at Morrissey's office. Period. And that's just how that's just what I think. So thank you for being here, guys. I'm going to jump off of here. Well, I'll check the chat first. Sorry. Erica, so you don't think Karen is not guilty? I think she's guilty. If the feds were going to do something, they would have done it by now. Absolutely not. If you could tell me the timeline of when the feds would, do the feds have a cutoff date for investigations? If you could show me that, I'll consider it. They don't. Absolutely not. So I don't believe she's guilty. I believe she's innocent and is being framed. And I believe that you only need a few people to conspire to corrupt the entirety of a case, obviously. I do believe that Jen McCabe Googled house long to die in cold at 2:27 a.m., maybe even 2:23. I don't know. Maybe right after Brian Higgins and Brian Albert got off the phone, she Googled it because she was on the phone with someone who was listening, like her sister, maybe. Anyway. I do not believe that there is a timeline for the feds to act on. I know there isn't. And sometimes these things take years and years, typically 5 to 10. And again, if it doesn't happen, it's just because they're hung up on that one thing that prevents prosecution, or prevents a conviction rather. Look how long. Let's use Diddy as an example. Diddy has been diddying and diddling as a predator since 1991 at least. And they are now charging him in 2024 with 120 charges plus. So tell me if they have a timeline, Erica. I don't think so. That's just me, and I'm not trying to be ugly. I'm sincerely telling you they don't. Right? All right, guys. I'm going to jump off. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you on the flip side. Justice for John O'Keefe and Karen Reed. Bye, everyone.